This is the BLUETTI AC70. What grabbed me right away is how fast it bounces back from empty and how quietly it lives in a room. I can plug it in, make breakfast, and by the time I'm zipping my bag, it's already at a usable charge. I'd put this in the sweet spot for portable power. Big enough to run real appliances and a full work setup. Small enough to carry with one hand and smart enough to manage itself without babysitting. If you camp, work remotely from cabins or vans, or want a dependable home backup for short outages, this hits the mark. It's not a whole house solution, but it covers essentials with confidence. Build quality matters for something you're going to haul in and out of cars and around campsites. The AC70 has a sturdy matte shell with rounded edges that don't snag on gear. The handle is molded into the top so it never feels like a weak point. Weight-wise, it's solid but manageable. After a couple stair runs, I noticed the handle sits slightly toward the rear, so the carry feels a little tail-heavy on longer walks. On a desk or the back of a hatch, the wide rubber feet keep it steady. Vents line the sides and back, and they move air well without sounding like a hairdryer. The front layout is simple. Clear screen in the middle, ports clustered together so you're not hunting around the sides, and 3 buttons, DC, Power, AC, that have a firm, confident click. The screen is bright enough to read in daylight if you tilt it right. Off-angle viewing is okay, but not great. One thing I wish it had, rubber covers for the ports. Dust and sand are a thing, and I'd love a little extra protection when I'm out on a windy trailhead. Setup is basically plug and go. There's no external power brick, which is a breath of fresh air. One standard cable into the wall, it wakes up and starts sipping, or chugging, depending on the mode. Pairing with the app over Bluetooth took me under a minute. The app is clean, updates are OTA, and the settings are where you expect them. I like that I can toggle charging speed between turbo, standard, and silent without touching the unit. And I can turn off eco mode when I'm powering low draw gear overnight. I do wish there were Wi-Fi for remote check-ins when I leave it at home. But within Bluetooth range, it's responsive and reliable. Core performance is where this thing earns its keep. The inverter is clean. Everything I've plugged in, laptops, audio gear, small fans, runs like it's on wall power. It handles up to 1,000 watts continuously and has a power lifting mode for resistive loads that push past that number. In practice, I've boiled water with an electric kettle and warmed a small space heater off-grid. The trade-off is that voltage dips a bit in that mode, so appliances can take longer than on a standard outlet. It's not meant for microwaves or anything with a heavy motor surge. I tried a compact microwave as an experiment, and it was finicky. With resistive stuff, heaters, kettles, it's great. Capacity lands in a practical place. For a workday, I ran a 16-inch laptop, a 43-inch monitor, a router, and small speakers, and averaged around 2 hours before I had to think about charging. Turning off the monitor and dimming the laptop stretched it to around 4. For camping, it ran my 12-volt fridge through the day with pass-through solar topping it up, and it didn't flinch. Overnight, a CPAP and a couple phones barely make a dent. You do pay a small idle tax if you leave AC or DC switched on with nothing plugged in. Charging speeds are a real quality of life thing here. The fast setting gets you to about 80% in roughly 45 minutes and full in around an hour and a half. If I'm at a friend's house during a storm window or grabbing a quick lunch stop on the road, that speed changes the way I plan. Silent mode charges slower, but the fans hover at a soft hum that disappears into a quiet room. Over solar, it's honest. Good panels and strong sun push it close to its upper limit, and I've gone from low to full in a sunny afternoon. Car charging works fine while driving, just don't expect miracles. Figure a workday to top it off through a typical 12-volt outlet unless you run heavier wiring. Noise is low most of the time. I've measured roughly mid-30s dBA a couple feet away under light to moderate loads. It's comfortable in a living room. In UPS mode, I've noticed the fans tend to run more often, even with a 100 to 150 watt desktop workload, and that can be noticeable in a very quiet office. I've also heard a faint high-frequency buzz with tiny AC loads like a single LED lamp. It disappears as soon as I add another device or when the fans spin up. Not a deal breaker, just something I noticed in a silent room at night. The UPS function is why I keep it under a desk. During short outages, it keeps the router and desktop alive. Most of the time, the switchover is fast enough that nothing blinks. On one occasion, a gaming PC with a particular power supply did reboot during a longer hiccup. That seems to be edge case dependent on the PSU's sensitivity, but it's worth noting if your setup is picky. I've enabled the option in the app that restores the AC/DC outputs after a full drain once power comes back, which saved me from a dead network after a storm. Firmware updates have been smooth, and one update even resolved a fan sensor error I saw once. Ports are laid out with real use in mind. The 100-watt USB-C port charges my work laptop directly, which is more efficient than running through the AC inverter. I've also topped off a MacBook Pro while pulling a small AC load at the same time without any hiccups. The AC outlets hold plugs firmly, and everything I've run has felt stable. No flicker, no weirdness in audio gear. I do wish the AC outlets had dust flaps, and I wouldn't mind one more port on the front for crowded camp tables. Thermals are well tuned. On a hot day with it discharging hard, the fans ramp up gradually, and the body never felt worryingly warm. Life PL4 chemistry is part of why I trust it inside. It's stable, and the long cycle life means I'm not nursing it. I still don't keep it at 100% forever. I'll discharge and recharge occasionally to keep the battery in a happy place. For storage, I park it around 80% and check on it every few weeks. Real-world scenarios paint the clearest picture. Powering a mini office during an outage, it covered me long enough to meet deadlines, while I fast-charged it during the brief return of grid power. At camp, I ran a small induction cooktop at a low setting to sear breakfast, then handed off hot water duty to an electric kettle. When the sun cooperated, I plugged in a portable array and watched the app show honest numbers climbing steadily. On a weekend road trip, it kept a 12-volt fridge cold while charging phones and a camera, and by the time we pulled into camp, it was holding steady, thanks to alternator charging and a quick top-up on shore power. A small but welcome detail. Pass-through power behaves predictably. I can be charging the unit while it's powering devices, and it doesn't do that weird on-off cycling I've seen on cheaper stations. Eco mode is helpful to avoid phantom drain, but I turn it off when I'm running a low-draw router overnight. A few quirks: Bluetooth control only, so no checking status from across town. The screen's viewing angle could be wider. Port covers would make me less nervous about dust. And while the UPS is good enough for most gear, very sensitive desktops might want a dedicated UPS inline if every millisecond matters. None of those are deal breakers for me, but they're the trade-offs I noticed after living with it. What stands out after weeks of use is how often I don't have to think about it. It's quick to refill, quiet enough to keep nearby, and predictable under load. When I need high power for short bursts, kettle, heater, it handles it. When I need steady power for hours, laptop, monitor, networking, it's reliable and transparent. If you're a camper, a van person, or someone who wants a smart, manageable backup at home without dealing with fuel and fumes, this is the one I'd recommend. If your goal is multi-day outages without sun, or you want to run big motor-driven appliances, you'll want a larger system or a good solar setup to pair with it. For most daily and weekend scenarios, it hits a practical balance of size, speed, and longevity that has made it part of my routine kit. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more real-world reviews, and drop your questions or your own experiences with portable power in the comments.